So we left off on our friend Michael, right? And we are at the top of page 50, but I'll read a little bit just as a reminder that his father, I'm reading the top of page 50. A day later, I got a call from my father. You're killing your mother. She was up all night crying. I'm afraid she's going to have a stroke. What the hell do they want me to do? Divorce my wife, come back to Boston, and move back into my old room? Michael's parents could pull his strings from 3,000 miles away. I asked him if his parents had ever come around to accepting his wife. Michael became visibly flushed with anger. No way. Whenever they call, they never ask how she is. In fact, they don't even mention her. It's like they're trying to pretend she doesn't exist. I asked Michael if he ever confronted his parents about this, and he seemed embarrassed as he answered, I wish I had. Every time she'd get clobbered by my parents, I'd expect her to take it. When she'd complain, I'd ask her to be understanding. God, was I an idiot. My parents are slugging away at my wife, and I just kept letting them hurt her. Michael's crime was that he had become independent. In response, his parents had become desperate and lashed out with the tactics that they knew best, withdrawing love and predicting catastrophe. Like most controlling parents, Michael's were incredibly self-centered. They felt threatened by Michael's happiness instead of seeing it as a validation of their parenting skills. Michael's interests were insignificant to them. According to them, he hadn't moved to California for a career opportunity. He had moved to punish them. He hadn't married for love. He had married to spite them. His wife hadn't gotten sick because she contracted a virus. She had gotten sick to deprive them. So that's so intense. You see how self-centered that is as the parents? And you see how he was so triggered by them that it was just his inner child was like, just, okay, I'll do this or I'll do that. And he's going along agreeing with things, them abusing his wife, with verbal abuse, and he didn't stand up for her. So that's when your inner child is triggered, it's very hard to be in a new, whatever the new relationship is, the relationship with the adult you're with, in this case, his wife. It's very hard to see that person at all if your inner child hasn't grown up yet. So what happens is, at first, that person you fall in love with is matching, is giving you all the love that you never got from mom or dad. And it feels so good, But then as the relationship goes on and mom and dad do their typical antics of abuse, it's still your inner child. It's the same inner child who is loving you so much and you feel like this is such a good person for me. That same inner child is basically emotionally immature, So all they want is that they want whoever that partner is, give me love, give me love, give me love, And then when it's time to protect their partner, they don't care. They let their partner get slammed, the inner child. That's what I'm saying is like, so you can feel like this person is, if you're like the partner of Michael, it can feel very, very painful. Because Michael seems like, he's in love with you and he's such probably a good, obedient husband, because he learned how to be a good boy with his parents. So he's doing all the right things. But then when the parents are attacking her and he doesn't do anything, it feels horrible. And now she's already married to him. What is she going to do? But she's sick, and they're attacking. And he doesn't do anything. He doesn't stand up for her. So that can feel on the receiving end of the partner, and that happens often if you marry somebody like that, And for him, he's aware of it now, that's good, but it would take a lot of work to get out of that dynamic, because then he'd have to be stronger than all those samskaras that got created, his original conditioning, all those samskaras of being a good codependent boy. He'd have to be stronger than that to stand up for his wife, and he'd have to go against the original bullies, which are his mom and dad, to be able to stand up for his wife. That's a very tall order. And that's why he didn't do it. No, he didn't do it. So I always go back, all roads lead back to that saying, so then when he's like, I love you, what does it really mean? Is that love? When somebody that you love so much that you marry them, you chose to marry them when they're getting abused and you don't stand up for them, is that love? So then what is, if we have to translate, what does his I love you mean? What does it actually mean?
I'm comfortable with you because I see the same pattern that I had in my childhood. So it is coming again in the same relation with the wife, because he has become attracted to the wife because of his own samskara in relation with the mother and father. So he can see that again in her, and because she wanted to be loved, so she's doing something to get her love, and then that's it. It's just like a dynamic to compensate the lack of the love of the parents.
So tell me in one sentence, what does I love you mean?
Love you mean
in his version.
Yeah.
One sentence.
She's doing what I need.
Okay, good. Vilas?
For Michael, I love you means you make me feel good about myself.
Good, basically. Any other ideas? I love you. When he says I love you, and part of the I love you is he's letting her be abused by his parents, right? So you make me feel good about myself. Any other idea if we had to translate it and decode it? Okay, Mohini?
I also goes in the same direction as Vilas. I would say like my inner child feels seen with you.
Very good. Yep. My inner child feels seen with you. Very good. Any other ideas? I love you. I want to marry you. I love you. Malika?
Yeah, I try to continue what Vilas said. I love you. You make me feel good because, and then I think because I can continue the way I'm doing because you don't object.
Very good.
My not standing up for you actually.
Yeah. I can continue the way I'm doing what I'm doing because you don't push back, basically. You don't stand up, you don't push back, so you let me continue my bad behavior. In other words, enabling my mom and dad to behave that way and enabling me to be enmeshed with them and go along with all their ways of abusing him. Right? She's enabling him being abused and he's enabling her being abused. Ladili?
Yeah, it would be I let you down.
Mm-hmm.
I let you unprotected.
Okay, so
Even though I'm saying I love you.
Very interesting. So I love you means I let you down. My version of love, if I'm Michael, is that I let you down and I will not protect you, or I leave you unprotected. Good, Ladili. Anything else? What's Michael's version of I love you? Any other ideas? Nyanshri?
I would say that he would say that I love you when you love me, but I cannot stand up for you.
Okay. I love you when you love me, but I cannot stand up for you. What a beautiful love. Wonderful. Okay. Any other ideas on this beautiful love? So I love you as long as you don't disturb basically let me do my own thing the way I want, which is to pacify my parents and choose them over you. You know? And it's okay if they abuse you. I love you. Part of the package. Part of the package is you're going to get abused by my parents. And when you're sick and on your deathbed, I'm going to leave you and go 3,000 miles away so I can be at their anniversary party. That's love. So that's codependency. That's why people say, I'm such a nice person. I mean, I'm codependent. Codependents are so nice. They're not nice. They're using you just like you're using them. I'm sorry to not sugarcoat it, but in codependency we say, other people are using me. No, we're using other people too. You know, in every relationship you have to say, why am I in this relationship? What am I getting out of it? And sometimes it's not obvious at all. But Michael's getting something out of her too. He's not Mr. Nice Guy, totally Mr. Because that's what I'm saying. You see here, she enables that bad behavior. So there's something going on with her where she has some samskara, most likely where her father didn't stand up for her in her childhood. So now that perpetuates. It kind of feels comfortable for her. I'm sick and on my deathbed, and my husband's going to leave me for his parents, and she's okay with it. I mean, she may not be, but it didn't sound like she's getting a divorce. You know? And it's probably not the first time he did this. You know? So there's a lot of... That's why mostly relationships are just samskaras at play. You know? And if all those samskaras from the inner child that you have that are getting projected on another person, if those actually get healed, if you do that inner child work very deeply and it gets healed, you would be very surprised who you're attracted to. It's totally a different type of situation, who you'd actually be attracted to, if those samskaras are all settled down, you know? Because that's why I'm saying he just needs her. He just needs her to go along with his plan, basically. And, you know, for probably sexual reasons too. I mean, there's the physical side of it, but beyond that, emotionally, who we're attracted to is somebody who pacifies our samskaras. And it doesn't mean it's in a good way. Like for her, she's being abused by him and his family, and that pacifies her samskaras of being unprotected by her father, probably, you know? So that's all it is. But once those samskaras get digested and you can see clearly, imagine if she did very deep inner child work, okay, and her samskaras got completely digested. And now she's laying on she's very sick, and the husband's like, my parents are angry, so I have to go. I'm sorry, I'm going across the country while you're sick here, because they're going to be mad if I don't come to their anniversary party. If her samskaras were digested and she was very healthy emotionally, her inner child had grown up, what do you think she would say or do? Vilas?
Maybe she would ask him what he meant with the marriage vows of, I don't know exactly how the vows are, but there's something about sickness and
yeah, and sickness and health, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. That we are together, and yeah. Maybe she would ask what he meant.
What did you mean when you said in sickness and health? What did that mean? Okay.
But maybe she would... Yeah, actually I'm not sure whether she would engage in a conversation and try to clarify what's going on, or whether she would just conclude that, okay, he's not the right person and there's no point to discuss here, and that she would, for herself, take the consequence and say, okay, then I better look for another person and who supports me better when I need it, and to such a person I would be also happy to support that person when he needs me.
Okay. Kamala?
I think she will say, you are a damn fool. You cannot understand what love is. Now I have enough of being used by you. And you can go, I don't care. Again and again you are going just to be a slave of your parents. And you put me all the time in the corner. Now this corner is too narrow for me. You can go, but be sure that when you are coming back, I will not be there for you.
Now, what's the difference between? Hold on, just one sec. Between why didn't you say? Well, she'd need to clarify what his thinking was behind it, and let's like Vilas. Why didn't you choose that option?
Me?
Yeah. Like, why were you so bold? Like, you're a damn fool, and basically.
No, because now I understand the situation, and then I have to act accordingly.
Yeah.
So if my eyes are open now, and I recognize that this person is just exploiting me.
Yeah.
So, what is the point to discuss?
Right.
There's no point to discuss. He's not going to change. He's ready there on the door. The suitcase ready to go, and I have to take it.
And if you're securely attached to yourself, you don't need somebody
like that.
Yeah. Because you entered the relationship in a different place as a needy person. You know, you'd rather, many people would rather be with somebody than nobody. So that makes your standard very low, very low. It's like, I'll take the abuse, just I don't want to be alone. Because when you're alone, when you really think, what does alone actually mean? What does it actually mean? Why do people hate being alone, and why do they want to be with a partner so much, or with other people so much, do you think?
I think they cannot stay with themselves.
Mm-hmm. But what does that mean to be with yourself? When you can't stay with yourself, what is it, your ears? Your ears are so annoying, or is it your elbow? Or what do you mean, I just can't be with myself? What is so bad about that?
Be absorbed in your mind, because the negative thoughts come when you're confronted with the separation or...
So negative thoughts come in your mind, and it's too hard to be with them, right? And then what happens if you get with another person instead? What happens to those negative thoughts?
When I'm with someone, I sort of forgot about myself.
But where do those negative thoughts go?
Well, I don't know, to subconsciousness.
To the subconscious, okay. Good. Malika, you want to add something?
I was just thinking they go to the other person.
Very good. Ding! Okay, Mohini had her hand up. Were you going to say something, Mohini?
Yeah, I want to say why one cannot be so much with oneself and one likes to be with other people. It's that one thinks that the inner child will be in a company.
That's right, because the inner child's lonely. And the loneliness comes from a wound that got made in your first year of life. From not attaching with, making a secure attachment with the mother, right? Good. So the inner child is desperate to be with, actually, somebody who makes them feel complete and connected and all that, So the standard is so low at that point because they've been waiting for so many years to find that person to connect to, and they can't. They never feel complete, And when they're by themselves, those negative thoughts come. And those are coming from samskaras that were made oftentimes in the first year of your life, of feeling like I'm unlovable. I'm unworthy of my mother's attention, So that's extremely painful. Extremely, extremely painful. But we don't realize that's exactly what it is. We just say, I hate being lonely. So oftentimes people resort to doing lots of different things to distract themselves. They'll either hang out with people they don't even like. They will, watch anything on TV or on their, what do they call it now? I just heard that term, doom scrolling. It's probably an old term, but I just heard doom scrolling. You just keep scrolling on your phone, watching reels or shorts or whatever, just so you don't have to be with your own mind, Or people get absorbed in hobbies and food and anything you can think of possibly. A lot of addiction has to do with this, because when you take the drug away and you have to be with yourself, it's too painful, and we don't realize all that. We just try to get away from ourselves, and sometimes we run around the whole world, but there you are. Now here we are in India, guess who you're with? Yourself. But you can get distracted by all the things that are happening. If you're living like at an ashram here, there's always something, to distract you. But the truth is when you get quiet enough, all that same stuff is still with you, And so this I love you basically in a nutshell, if we strip it all down, means I love the fact that you can distract me from myself. So you can make me feel, that I'm something other than, this anxious person or this angry person or this depressed person or this sad person, this incomplete person, this not good enough person. So I love you because you make me feel like I'm, something better than I am when I'm with my own mind. That's what I love you means, because once you work through all that, you don't need to have that other person, It's like, like a skunk, or a very bad smelling skunk when they spray that black kind of, it looks like a animal this big, it's black and has a white stripe down its back. We call it a skunk. And when it feels threatened, it sprays a horrible smell. And if you have a dog and it gets sprayed, you have to soak it in tomato juice and it's horrible to get the smell off. It's really bad, that smell. You have to give it a tomato juice bath. Because the smell, imagine your dog with that smell all over. It's horrible, So that's how it is. So then if you're walking around with the samskara smell, basically, it's just emanating out of you. You don't realize it. And then you're spraying some cheap, air freshener, pine sol smell over it. Like, hey, I love you. It's like, that's how it looks, because the samskaras are spewing all out. And the more those bigger words you use about love and you complete me and all this, it's just covering the deep wound in your heart of the inner child who just really wants more than anything to convince someone else to love me like mom never did, And that's the Michael story, I'm sure he would use lots of good words, really good with the words to attract the wife and somehow convince her that she's so unworthy of his love that she should stay home and be sick and while he goes to a party across the country, So this book club is not for the faint of heart, I know. It's like, yes, at least it's not a bedtime story. We're still not bedtime yet.
Something you just said caught my attention. So I understood that because I feel unworthy of love, or if we feel unworthy of love from the first year of life, then we want someone else. So how is it that if there's someone else, I feel more worthy of love? Or, why is it that I search for someone else to complete me if I feel unworthy?
Because we're still trying to get mom's love. We feel unworthy, but we're not comfortable with that. We feel unworthy of love because we never made that secure attachment. Because mom never made this secure attachment with us, right? So we're going to constantly be searching for that person to do mom's job for the rest of our life. The problem is that when that person comes, we're not going to like the one who makes us feel securely attached because it doesn't match the samskara. But actually, that's why it's a lose-lose proposition. We're on a search the rest of our life to find that missing link. Because we feel, even though we feel unworthy of it, we know that deeper than that, we want that, we need that. We want that person, which is our mother. We're hardwired for love. So the unworthy samskara is there, but there's something stronger, which is the human need to bond, to connect, to make that, So the unworthy one is there, which makes us sabotage when it comes. We'll only go for the one who matches the mom samskara, the insecure attachment samskara. We'll go for that because our samskara is driving us because we can't see it. But deeper than that is like a very deep, deep hardwiring to make a secure attachment. But the samskara spooks us and scares us not to do it. So when somebody comes who can do the secure attachment, we'll do things to mess that thing up. And then when the people come who can't do it, who are going to hurt us, we're like, okay, yes, good. I'm unworthy of love. That works. That matches my equation. Go ahead, leave me and I'm sick on my deathbed and go across the country. Perfect. I'm sure maybe, if we really could analyze it, probably that woman he married, her mother let her cry it out. You know that saying, cry it out? Where when the baby's crying at night, don't get them, let them learn how to self-soothe. So, this goes to the very core of the first year of life, but that's, my guess is there's a connection there between that woman. Because what are you doing when you're sick? Your body's crying it out, right? And would you be okay with your husband leaving you like that if your mother and father did not let you cry it out? If every time you cried, they took you in their arms and they nurtured you? Then when you're sick on your deathbed, you're not going to be okay with somebody doing that. So she was okay with it enough to stay there and let it happen. That's what I'm saying. The samskara analysis is very deep, very specific. She's not my client, so I don't know, but something like that is my guess. That made her be like, okay. And not be like what Kamala said, you damn fool. You can go, but I'm not, you would have had to have a mother who every time you cried, she came and she nurtured you. So then now I'm crying, and if my husband's not going to nurture me, go to hell. You don't have to question it. Let's discuss our marriage vows. It's not a discussion. It's like, your behavior is the writing on the wall right here, and this is the 100th time you've done it, and I've been in therapy, and I've nurtured my inner child. I don't need you anymore. You've already showed me with your behavior. So goodbye. Yeah, and she's like, oh, Kamala, are you going to say something?
I was thinking that when Kamala was saying that I'll just cut it off,
Yeah.
I was also thinking, but I was thinking in a sense that I will say to him,
Yeah.
that either you're going to choose your family or me.
Yeah.
Something like that. But I was still thinking that no, Kamala could be wrong, because just ending up the relationship is a very big thing and you should talk and maybe try. So I'm thinking that that's coming from like trying to pacify things from my
Yeah,
thinking.
it's trying. Usually what happens is if somebody's the abuser, we give them 100 extra tries. Like, let's talk about it. You know, we're in a long-term marriage or long-term relationship. We should discuss it. Give them a second chance. You know, that's why I always make that quote. But like, it takes a woman who's being very badly physically abused 7 times. On the 7th time of leaving the husband, finally, she leaves. But the other 6 times, he beats the crap out of her, and she barely escapes, and then she's back. And he does it again, and then she's back. So there's a tendency, if you've been abused in your childhood, emotionally, physically, verbally, sexually, there's all types of abuse. If you've been abused in your childhood, you will forgive the abuser. You'll even defend the abuser. You will defend the abuser and forgive the abuser and try to make it work out again. It's the same samskara of this very deep desire to make that connection with your original people, your mother and your father, and overlook all the kind of bad stuff. Remember that lecture I gave when I was saying the mother has that biological off, the child has a biological off switch for fear. That's how strong we need our mother. So if your mother is beating the crap out of you, you are not going to register that that's a bad thing, that you should run or you should be scared. You're not going to register that. It's going to make a samskara that I love my mom. My mom's so wonderful, great. Because you need her nurturing, you need her food, you need her to take care of you. So that's how we survive. But then what happens is, as an adult, if we were abused in any way, and a lot of abuse is very, very subtle. It's emotional level, you know. So if we were not getting our needs met emotionally, and we didn't register that, you know, then we're going to continue that. To go for people like that. And we're going to defend them. And we're going to say, wait a minute, let's talk it out. Or maybe it could be, you know, let's discuss, you know, maybe you should go. Instead of just being like, no, I don't need you. I chose this marriage, you know. I was in a different state of mind maybe before I did all my therapy and realized I even had an inner child, so I needed you then, you know. But now I've realized I do not need you. I choose you or I don't choose you. And with this behavior, I do not choose you. It's not like you're going to have a talk and he's going to change his ways. That's the thing. That's this fantasy thinking. I mean, can you imagine what would you say to him? Like, okay, you know, we should talk it out. And then he's like, you're right. Okay, I won't go. What's he going to do the next day? It gets worse over time. Bad behavior gets worse over time, especially if you excuse it and you talk it out. It's not like I mean, just think, anybody who's in therapy yourself, how hard is it to change? It is so hard. Sometimes you're just like, I've been doing it for 10 years and I still cannot change that thing, you know? And you're working on it. So now you think you're going to have one talk with him and explain it and talk it out, or you're going to discuss the marital vows and he's going to be like, oh, you're right, my bad. No, that's what I'm saying. It's like a skunk and you're spraying some cheap perfume on it. It's a skunk. Once you see it's a skunk, and if you're clear and you don't need him, if you have the mindset, I'm choosing him. Why? Because I am complete in myself. I have a secure attachment with myself. So I don't need him. Do I choose him? Why would you choose somebody like that? There are different cases. I can't do black and white here. I mean, if they're married and they have kids, you might choose to stay in some sort of cordial relation to not hurt the kids. But you may not choose to be married to him and rely on him emotionally. You know what I mean? There's lots of gray area here, but the idea I'm just trying to make is how it would look if you just stand up for yourself. How does that look when you do not need him? I can't see who's that. Is that Vineet? Okay. Go ahead, Vineet.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Radhe.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you for speaking on this topic. I'm totally connecting with this. It seems like we are searching for the emotions that our mother didn't give us, but we attract the things that our mother gave us, which are, making us deficient in our relationships. if you get what I mean. Like, she gives us some good samskaras and some things which are causing us to have toxicity, like normalized toxicity. And so when we go out and search, we're finding the people who are in her image, but carrying the same toxicity. That's what I understood from what you were saying. Like, and so my question is, it's hard to change a samskara. So if we are going out and literally picking out relationships which are mirrors of the relationship we have with our mother, like how are things going to change? Like what is necessary for us to change to stop doing that?
That's a good question. So what you can think of a samskara like your program. So the good news is it's your program, it's not theirs. Your program that's making you pick somebody who's, we can say toxic, or we could be kinder and just say somebody also has a wounded inner child. So you have a wounded inner child, they have a wounded inner child, and you're going to be attracted to somebody who makes you feel just like mom did, just like your mom did. So the way to fix it is to fix your software, your program, which means you have to learn how to nurture your inner child. You have to figure out what the specific wounds are. Like, for example, at least in the US, a big wound is crying it out. A lot of parents chose to let their children cry it out. It was a movement. It was a movement, meaning like, no. The louder they scream, don't go. Just let them cry. They'll eventually learn how to self-soothe. But that's a major trauma. So I'm just using that as one example. But whatever, you have to figure out what your samskara is. But there's more than one. But whatever ones you have that are in those first years of life, and then you have to work with somebody, ideally, with a therapist who can help you nurture your inner child wounds. And you'll know they're nurtured because you'll start being attracted to different people. And you'll start having different kind of conversations and different kind of thoughts and different kinds of feelings. But the good news is it's your software, so you can rewrite it. Because in samskaras they don't have a time. So just say something got created when you were 1, right? That mom did not make a secure attachment with you. She let you cry it out. That happened when you were 1, in the first year of life. That doesn't mean, it doesn't matter if you're 40 now. The samskara is 1. So when somebody lets you cry it out as an adult, meaning somebody ignores you and doesn't pay attention to your needs, and you get triggered, you will cry like a 1-year-old. Have you ever had that experience? As an adult, when you start sobbing and you can't even catch your breath, you're like that's because it's the samskara is coming from maybe when you were 1 or 2. So you have to go back as the adult part of you, the one who we're talking with now. Everybody's mature, talking, analyzing. That part of you is the parent, and you have to go back, and nurture that sweet little baby who didn't get what they needed, and you have to be the parent for them. But it's not so easy to do, because oftentimes to go to that samskara you have to already be triggered. You have to be feeling it. So then how can you be like 2 people? How can you be like the mature, emotionally mature adult and the baby crying, So that's why the therapist who's trained in that can help you do that. But the first thing is to get the concept, get the concept of what it is. You can look on YouTube or read some books or articles on the inner child. And there's lots of different therapists out there who specialize in that, inner child work. Or attachment styles, you can look that up, attachment work. Good question.
Sorry, just to finish this up. For situations where we feel like we need to be punished, or rather we feel like we need to be punished in order to progress or to do anything, because our parents might have punished us when, severely for small things. What would you recommend someone do? Like, what does healing the inner child look like for someone who has been punished severely in their childhood?
I think that's a specific question that would be good to talk to a therapist about. The part I can answer for the whole group that would benefit the whole group is that you have to do inner child work. The specific samskara, one by one, I can't get into that. That's individual therapy work, because my answer won't do it justice if I do a general answer. And a specific answer probably would take an hour at least in therapy, you know.
Sure.
But it's a good question.
Thank you.
And it's good to want to know, because if you don't know what you're going for, how would I look if I didn't have that samskara anymore, if that was healed? It's a very good question. Even to, if you are thinking about therapy, any of you guys, you know, and if you're not in therapy yet, you can write an email to different therapists and ask them, you know, do you do inner child work? How does it work? What's your style? And if I, you know, here's my specific issue, and how would it look once it's healed? And what's the process, you know? The more specific, the better. Then you can get a feel for what type of therapist works well with you, because not all therapists are for everybody. Everybody has their own unique nature and the type of therapist that will work well with you.
Right. Thank you, Mom.
Okay, my pleasure. Okay, so let's keep reading a little bit. Okay, so we were talking about our friend Michael, and he seemed embarrassed, right? Halfway down page 50, he never confronted his parents. He seemed embarrassed as he answered. He wished that he had, right? And every time she'd get clobbered by my parents. You know what that word means, clobbered? Like slammed, like very hard. They weren't being gentle with their words. She would get clobbered. That's a very strong word to use by his parents. And he would expect her to take it. He would expect her to just be like, yeah, just go along with it. My parents are what? Gods. My parents are gods. Shouldn't we worship the parents? We should worship the parents, right? That's what they say, right? Mother is the first guru. So it doesn't matter how much they abuse you, how much they abuse your wife. They deserve respect. Why? Because the Shastra says it, right? Right. So that's, he probably doesn't know Shastra, but somehow he's got that in him too, right? That he should, it doesn't matter how much the abuse comes, I expect her to take it. And would she complain? I'd ask her to be understanding. God, was I an idiot? My parents are slugging. Slugging means punching at the wife, and I just kept letting them hurt her. So the thing is that, you know, this idea, you know, I was totally being sarcastic, right? Is that, yes, the parents should be worshipped like a god, but they also should, you have to have a brain in your head, you have to use your intelligence, and if you can't, you should find a guru who can explain what the different shlokas mean, you know? And that's the thing, is everybody thinks they have interpreted it perfectly, you know, but the interpretation is not correct, that the parents, no matter how abusive they are, it doesn't say parents, no matter how abusive they are, should be worshipped, does it? No, it does not say that. So the thing is that when those scriptures were written, the parents did not behave like they behave today. So parents were worshipable then. Now, if they're being abusive to you, you have to think, why would I be worshiping them? And why would I let them do that to me? It doesn't make sense. You know, it's just another excuse, another ahankara rationalization, you know, to enable bad behavior. But we don't want to propagate that. You know, they should be worshipped if they're worshipable, if they're acting in a very saintly way, you know. Yes, if they take care of you, if they love you and nurture you, if they respect you, right? If they teach you, if they do the job. I mean, if you read how Babaji describes the role of the ideal father, he made a whole e-course on that. If you just read if you listen to what he says, and if you listen to what he teaches how a mother should be, I would definitely worship parents like that. Those parents should be worshipped, and he describes them very clearly. It doesn't say all parents who are abusing you should be worshipped, you know. And so that's what, and whether you know that from the Shastra or not, it's almost irrelevant, because this guy doesn't probably know the Shastra, but he's also saying it, you know. He's also saying, yeah, I let them do it. I let them do it. But then afterwards he said, God, was I an idiot? I just kept letting them hurt her. So Michael's crime was that we already talked about that, he'd become independent, right? So like most controlling parents, Michael's were incredibly self-centered, right? They felt threatened by all this stuff. They had their own version of everything. It all related to them, to their ahankara. If you look at that last paragraph, I already read it, but if you read it through the ahankara point of view, look at the ahankara. So self-centered, that means ahankara right there. Ahankara is your ego, your sense of identity, your sense of self, you know? So basically, who is Michael to these parents? An extension of themselves, only an extension of themselves. So anytime he acts not like an extension of themselves. Actually, like he's an independent, that's what the therapist said, he's independent of them, all hell is going to break loose. And they're only going to interpret it through their ahankara, through their, Babaji always says, like everybody has different colored glasses on. They're only seeing it as how it relates to them. So it's like, you need to be at my wedding anniversary party. Why? Because you're our son, you need to make us look good. So then look at this. Look at how badly they misinterpret everything. They felt threatened by their own son's happiness, you guys. Their own son's happiness. Instead of seeing it as a validation of their parenting skills, I mean, if everybody has an ahankara, so they have to have an ahankara do something. It has to make you feel something. But if you're in sattva, you can say, I'm so happy for my son. Because it's not a validation of my parenting skills. It's because he's happy. My son's happy. So I'm happy for him. But they feel threatened that he's happy outside of them. Do you see how much the equation of love is working here? They could only feel happy if he's doing something that makes them look good. But if he's happy with a girl living in California outside of them and he doesn't need them, they're going to feel completely threatened. That's how you can see that it's not love. Again, Michael's interests were insignificant to them. Why? Why were Michael's, from the ahankara point of view, why would his interests be insignificant to the parents? From the ahankara point of view.
I think Michael's interest would be significant when they would be related to them.
Exactly.
But if it is related to her wife, his wife, then
that's right.
it's not gonna be.
Very good. It's simple. If it relates to them and makes them look good, then his interests are amazing. But if it's not related to them, his interests, and related to the wife especially, no, they're not interested at all. In fact, they think it's probably horrible. According to them, listen to this. And he said, I moved to California for career opportunity. Their point of view, he moved to California to punish them. I mean, can you imagine? And remember, Michael's the one in therapy, which means the parents told him that. And he's telling the therapist. Can you imagine if you're a parent and telling your kid, you moved away from me to punish me? You can imagine, Krishna, it happened to you. You're like, yes, this is hitting a little too close to home. Yeah, you moved away to punish me. I mean, what kind of guilt can you make a kid have? They figured out maybe, career opportunity. That means he probably figured out something he's good at. And it was very hard to move across the country from your family, from what you know. So the parents should be so proud of him that he found something that he can do where he can make money. Opportunity means probably making more money. But also the mother should have been nurturing, like, oh, can I help you move? You're moving to a new place. Can I help you get all settled in? No. They're like, you're punishing us. So how old do you think their inner children are, the mother and father, to say, you're punishing me? How old would the child be that would say something like that? 2, right? 2 or 3? Maybe 5 on a good day? I mean, but young. Because if you think about it, like if your mom and dad left you when you were 2 for a career opportunity and you're 2, and they both left you, I'd be like, you're punishing me, because that is a punishment. You don't do that to a 2-year-old. You don't do it to a 5-year-old either. The kid needs at least 18 years with mom and dad solid and stable. Anything you do in between those years, it's going to mess them up if you're not stable and solid for them. So of course, if you're very young and your parent does that, you'd say, you're punishing me, right? So his parents are very immature. It's 2 inner children, That's who it is. That's who's talking. And then they told him that you didn't marry for love. You married to spite him. I mean, this poor guy, I don't know how he's making it, like all these, he's telling the therapist all these things, and it's just, he's keeping them inside of him all this time. His parents couldn't even be happy for him finding love, and getting married. You're moved across the country to punish us, and you're getting married to hurt us. It's all about us. And they're saying it to him. I mean, they also have no filter. As kids get older, Even by 4 or 5, they start learning how to lie, which means how to filter, how to be like, no, I didn't do that, you know. So they're not even 4 or 5, the parents. They can't even put a filter there. They can't even at least put a fake smile and be like, we're so happy for you. They can't even do that. So they're not even 4. I mean, 4 and 5-year-olds, you know, you leave them in a room alone and tell them don't do that, and you put something very tempting there, they'll do it. They don't have that long that they can wait before they're like, and they do it, and then it will break or something happens, and then you're like, what happened? They're like, I don't know. They're like, did you do that? No, I didn't do that. So that's 4 or 5-year-olds. So they have some mind control. So these parents aren't even 4 or 5. That's what I'm saying. And I'm doing this so in detail to help you in your lives when you see somebody who's acting like this. Because then don't point it out to them. That's going to be a bomb going off in your face if you do that. But at least you can understand the mental level of the person. And you can have compassion and say maybe they don't even know they have an inner child. Maybe they don't know how to work with the inner child, or maybe they're just starting out in that work, you know. So I see that they're not really, even though they're in a body that looks like it's 40 years old, they're maybe 4, you know, emotionally. And that's why they're behaving like that. And then you can not take it so personally. Then you're like, okay, I feel bad for them. They, you know, hopefully they can get out of it through some work. But I'm not going to engage. Now, you don't have to become a 4-year-old and start throwing balls at each other, you know, like in each other's head, you know. Just, you can see it. If you're managing and taking care of your inner child, then you can see more clearly when someone else's inner child is triggered, and you don't have to engage. You just say, oh, I feel bad, you know. If they're seriously like, I'm punishing them because I'm doing something that's good for me, it's a very young child who needs me in a way that's unhealthy. It's not my fault, you know. If you can talk to yourself like that, it'll also help your inner child to know that you're making clear boundaries and protecting him or her, and you're still going to do what's good for you. And if the other person's having a temper tantrum, you know, it's sad for them, but it's not your job to now adjust yourself just so they don't have a tantrum, because they'll have one again and again and again. That's the nature of their mind, you know. So his wife hadn't gotten sick because she contracted a virus. She had gotten sick to deprive them. How much empathy do these parents have, would you say, on a scale of 0 to 10? What would you rate them?
-2.
-2, right? Minus. I mean, the wife is the person he loves very much. And she has a virus. She's really sick. And there's 0. They're not thinking at all about, oh my God, that must be so hard for you. You're like far away from family. You probably don't have a lot of support. You're in California. You're working. And now she has a virus. It must be so hard. Like, do you have the support you need? You know what? Actually, we're going to cancel our anniversary party, and we're going to fly out there and help you guys. How about that? How about that for some empathy? Is it really that important to have an anniversary party? Really? No. If they were loving and empathetic and their inner children were grown up, they would cancel the anniversary party and go there, you know, and get a nearby hotel so they don't, you know, take over the whole apartment or whatever, and they would support. The mom would make some food, you know, the dad would come and they would help. They would completely support them, you know, support him. I mean, do you see how different that would be if the parents' inner children were grown up? What a different response. They would immediately cancel the anniversary party. They say, don't even think twice. We're going to be on the red eye tonight. We'll be there tomorrow morning. They would not hesitate. But you cannot have empathy if your inner child's not grown up. If your inner child is not grown up, you cannot have empathy for somebody else, because your inner child's always screaming and always crying and always angry or frustrated, or it's not pacified. There might be moments, but usually what you're doing is you're trying to get your inner child's needs met, even if it's you yourself trying to do it. I mean, it's a full-time job. I mean, just if anybody's ever had a child, you know, you cannot be having empathy for other people. Your kid is screaming at night, now it's hungry, now it's scared, now it's tired, now it's angry, now it's this, now it likes that. It's constant. So if your inner child has not grown up, it's a full-time job looking in. So then how is it that you can be thinking of other people and looking out for them and having empathy for them? You know, so that's what I'm saying, is that you can get fooled by people who look like they have empathy. But oftentimes it's a kind of momentary, fleeting thing just because maybe they might be feeling good in that moment, or something's happening where they need you. So it can look like they're saying or doing something that's a very deep, grounded sattvic empathy, but it's not. And you can tell because it doesn't last. It's for a moment, you're like, oh, they're like this. And then you keep remembering, but they were like that, they said that, yeah, they did. But it was kind of like a, sorry to say, but a fart, you know? How long does it's quick, it's just like, you know? And then you're on to the next thing. It's not like a lasting mood. It's just it's a, and then eventually when your inner child grows up, you can be empathetic all the time because you don't have that screaming thing inside of you. But most people don't even know they have an inner child. You know, that's why they're constantly wanting to be around other people, and they're trying to want to be in relationship and doing all that stuff, because somebody's got to take care of the inner child. But they don't even know they have one. It just, I feel good when I'm with you. Why? Because I don't have my mind going off. And two, because, you know, physically it feels nice. And it's a great distraction. But you don't realize you're distracted. What you're really distracted from is a very desperate, wounded inner child who needs your love and attention that no partner can ever give, you know. So it's good because we've identified the problem. It's definitely not your partner, I'll tell you that. Or your boss. Not that person. Because if you look at your track record, just look at your history. The longer you've lived, just look back of all your adult years. We just keep doing the same thing with different people in different countries and different positions, you know, but it's the same. If you look at your pattern and don't analyze the other person, look at your pattern. It's like, oh, there we go again. You know, I'm being whatever, fill in the blank. But you can take that attachment style survey and see your style. And you know, the results depend on how well you're able to see yourself as well. So you may get something and you're like, is that really me or not? Because if it doesn't match, it's because you might not be seeing yourself as clearly, because you have to answer the questions, you know? So you can also look at the attachment style webpage that has all 4 styles and just see. Because the survey might not match who you think you are if you read the 4 styles. But then you can start seeing what your theme is, how you show up in relationships. And that's perfect, because then you can take that, and when you work with your therapist, that's how you nurture yourself on those particular specific, you know, issues. Okay, so our friend Michael, he gave us a lot of juicy stuff to dig into, huh? So Michael's parents were always forcing him to choose between themselves and his wife, and they made every choice an all or nothing decision. With directly controlling parents, there is no middle ground. If the adult child tries to gain some control over his own life, he pays the price in guilt, frustrated rage, and a deep sense of disloyalty. When Michael first came to me, he thought his marriage was the major problem, see? Not mom and dad, my wife, because I'm perfect. And so are my parents, because they're gods. So it's my wife. That's how it looks when somebody comes to therapy and they say, I want to do couples therapy. You know what I say? I say, I need to see you individually first. And tell your wife to go see somebody individually. You know, and then after I've seen you enough, in other words, if you have enough self-awareness to own your part, and then if your wife does, then we can do some couples work. But otherwise, you know, before I had caught on to that trick and I would go, okay, couples therapy was the worst. Because they just come and just throw crap at each other and blame each other. No self-awareness, you know. And they're not an individual therapy. They're like, we don't need individual therapy, we just need couples therapy. So that doesn't work, in my experience. It doesn't work. You have to each be doing your own individual therapy and demonstrate that you have self-awareness, which means taking responsibility for your part of how this whole thing got created, what you did to create the situation that you're in, you know? And then once you've done that, then you just might be able to hear when your partner says that you never listened to me. You might be able to hear it if you've already been in therapy and working on self-awareness and taking responsibility. Then you might be like, there might be a grain of truth to that. Can you tell me more, you know? So, when Michael first came to me, he thought his marriage was the major problem. It didn't take him long to realize that his marriage was merely a victim of the struggle for control that had begun when he moved away from home. A child's marriage can be extremely threatening to controlling parents. They see the new spouse as a competitor for their child's devotion. This leads to horrendous battles between parents and spouse, with the adult child caught in a crossfire of divided loyalties. Some parents will attack the new relationship with criticism, sarcasm, and predictions of failure. Isn't that mean? you're in a new marriage, and your parents are predicting it's going to fail and criticizing. It's hard enough to be in a relationship, right? And then on top of that, your parents are just trying to break it down. Others, as in Michael's case, will refuse to accept the new partner or even ignore the spouse's very existence. And still others will directly persecute the new partner. It is not unusual for these tactics to create such upheaval that the marriage is undermined. So sad. So this idea that the parents were like making him choose between them and his wife, and they made every choice an all or nothing decision. So do you guys see why that statement is also coming from a 2-year-old child samskara? Just think of that statement. The parents made him feel like it's all or nothing. In other words, you pick your wife and then goodbye. You're dead to us. That's all or nothing. Or you pick us and then divorce the wife. Why is it all or nothing? Vilas?
So I understood that the 2-year-old child, for the 2-year-old child, it is all or nothing, because either I survive if I attach to the parent, or I'm in severe trouble.
Exactly. That is it. So very good. So when you are in a relationship with any person, does not have to be a romantic partner, just any person, and also yourself, watch how you talk about things. When you use very strong statements like all or nothing, or you never do this, or you always do that, or you hate me, or I love you, anything very strong, it's coming from a very small little child. Because the adult mind is sattvic. It's like the adult mind, the mind we were actually born with, which is also, it got all jumbled up in childhood, but when you work through those samskaras, you nurture inner child, it's peaceful. There's no drama. It's not all or nothing. It's not so severe. It's not, all that is coming from an insecure attachment, like Vilas said. It's coming from the need to attach to the mother in that first year of life. And if it didn't happen, you're still going to be spinning from that, reeling from that. And everything's going to seem more intense, more dramatic. Okay? Okay, lots to digest. Thank you guys for being here and for participating.